Good afternoon. We're sitting in the home of Ken and Beryl Davis. It's December 19th, and I believe it's around 3 o'clock. I'm Rolly Worsfold, and Maureen Brown's here, and we're both from the museum, and we're really into recording some of these Rossland memory stories, and so we're pleased to be here.
Ken, can you tell us a little bit about your history with lacrosse in Rossland?
Well, in Rossland it was famous for lacrosse for the reason it goes back way back into the 40s that the Scott brothers were playing. And me and I being related to the Scotts, my two brothers, we were into it too because of my father. Was into being on the director on the teams. So we got into this lacrosse, and then my father got to be on the RCAA, Rossland Civic Activity Association, and being that they were affiliated with the BC Lacrosse Association, and they were pushing to bring lacrosse higher for minor lacrosse into towns. So they would send in sticks if you asked them, and they'd sell these sticks for $1 a stick. And my father would bring these sticks in,
By railroad.
and they came in by railroad. You go down the old railroad station to get them, and then to be on the front porch. Well, we had all the kids coming to our house to pick up lacrosse sticks for
Now,
$1.
was that organized? Like it was an organized lacrosse team that was
Yes.
playing?
Well, they got organized. I have a memorabilia over there from '46 and '48 when we had minor lacrosse going in Rossland.
And how many teams would they have?
Well, it was just that you'd had bantam and there was juvenile, and you just would have pickup teams, and we'd play an awful lot in the old open box over where the arena is now today.
So that was an open air arena.
Open air. That box ran east-west, where the rink today runs north-south.
Okay, and did they have grandstands around it?
Oh
or-
yes, they had stands. They're all made out of wood. They're on a V-back, and they're all out, and they set on the people. You wouldn't leave them on the people to be in the place.
So how many?
I couldn't really be up in the hundreds of people just to come and watch, and in an open box.
And you said that one time they were selling tickets, and it was like a 2-block lineup.
Well, this got later on when we got back. This was back in the 40s, and lacrosse went from after the war, started back just after the war. But when the flood hit Trail in '48, that wiped out the Trail arena. They couldn't play, so the league folded, and it got started again in '53. Yeah, when it's first. So we turned around in '53. And they didn't have a floor. So they had to build a floor for the arena because it was just put up new over here. So they turned around and they got in touch with Ed Paul, who had the big sawmill out of town here. And he went along with them. And he cut 1 by 2 boards, planed only on one side, and cut all the 2x4s. And that's how they made the first floor. The lacrosse club built the floor in the arena. They make a section, put it in. And they had it numbered as you put it in, and then when it came out, it was all ready to go away. And that's how it got started again in '53. And then we went from that, and in '53 when we were playing, in the league, there were just the 3 teams in '53 of Rossland, Trail, and Nelson. So in that year, when we just got started, we played the whole year, never lost a game, until we went over to Kelowna to the playoffs and got beat out in Kelowna.
Yeah. And that was the Rossland Redmond?
Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then in '54, that's when we started stronger, and we played on the same old floor, but we got going, and this is when we took the first BC championship, was in '54.
And you played that in Kelowna?
No, we played right at Rossland. This is why we got such great big crowds. They turned around, the entrance to the arena was on 2nd Avenue. You went up the stairs onto the arena. Well, they'd be lined up there right down the side, right back to the old handy store, which is Idgie's today. They'd be to get into the game to watch it. They had people, they'd be hanging onto the steel beams watching because they didn't have the real good bleachers at that time.
How many teams were involved in BC?
Oh, there's all kinds. Well, this one, when we played then in '54, there was the Okanagan had 3 teams going. And when they came down to play us, they always picked an all-star team. It wasn't just a town team; it was an all-star team. So here we had a battle that way, and we beat them out in '54, And then the team came in from the coast. There was one from Victoria and one from Nanaimo, and the other one was from Vancouver came in to play us, and we beat them too. Just the fun of the whole game was the whole reason we had such a good team is because we all got along and had fun. We made fun. Then after in '54 I think is when Spokane got into this. So then we turned around and Spokane had a team. So there we are. We had play Sunday nights we practiced in Rossland. Tuesday we played the game in Rossland. Thursday, if it was on schedule, you played in Trail. And on the weekend, you played in Nelson on Saturdays. And sometimes you went down to Spokane to play on a Sunday. But you always had about, something average of 3 games a week plus practicing. So we were just into it really heavy at the time.
And was it all summer long? Is that when you played?
Well, it started up on around the May the 24th weekend. And we played all the finals were always played Labor Day weekend in Rossland.
Wow.
54, 55, and 56. All the playoffs were played in Rossland because of the crowds we drew, and they made money for the BC Lacrosse Association.
And were you skiing at that time too?
Not much.
Not much.
Not much. Not much.
The skiing came a little later.
Well, I did always skied when I was a kid in Rossland.
Right. But I'm just wondering, a lot of the guys that were playing lacrosse at that time were skiers too.
No, they didn't ski that much. The LaFace brothers, nothing. I don't think any of them ever
because it
skied.
must have been a pretty good fitness level. for the
Scots,
guys.
but we played lacrosse, and then we went and played hockey.
Okay.
We came off the floor in September, and we were back playing hockey on artificial ice and trail.
Okay. So
on
that you had the
Thanksgiving
legs.
weekend. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were playing, why would you play in Trail and not Rossland?
Because we didn't have artificial ice till later on in Rossland,
Ah.
and we never played in Rossland. We got natural ice. We played on natural ice up here, but most of the time we played on artificial trail because we were mixed up in what the trail was called the Trail Smelter League. And there was 4 teams. There was the Junior A team, and there was the Met Service, Warfield, and then Rossland have a team in it.
Oh,
Right. So we never did get out of shape.
no. We played
Anyway,
hockey in the winter and lacrosse in the summer.
and so we didn't have much time to go skiing.
So was it only those 4 years that it was really strong, the lacrosse?
Well, we're at 57 to start to die off, and that was the last year I have any.
Okay.
57.
But you continued playing hockey.
Yeah, I played
And
hockey.
that's when Trail had such a strong hockey presence also.
Well, this Smelter League I talk about, that is better hockey than you'd ever believe was played right in Trail. On Sunday afternoons, you had 2 games, and the people used to be big crowds in there just to go on Silver Collection to go watch us play hockey. And a lot of them were people that came through the junior A ranks, and your ex-Smokies that didn't want to travel anymore or be away from home so much, but still wanted to play, so we played every Sunday afternoon in Trail.
And Nelson would play with you. Nelson.
No,
it was just local.
4
Yeah,
local
okay.
teams.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of it was out of, from Kameko, where they had all the employees at the time.
Right.
So they had teams come out of there.
Okay. All right. And that went. You continued playing that type of hockey till through into.
In his 50s.
I
Oh,
played
wow.
hockey right up to I was 50s.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you go to the games, Beryl? Okay.
Yeah, she used to. When I was playing lacrosse, with the 2 little, we had 2 little boys. Doug was pretty small, and Tom could remember it. I always had a big old Bruce Vermeer was our coach, or a trainer, and he had hands on him that you wouldn't believe. It'd take 2 of yours to make one of his. Oh, I don't believe it. So anyway, he was our trainer, and then Bruce, where's the kids? Get out there. Okay. So I'd have 1 stick of gum, and I'd take it out and I'd rip it in half, and the 2 little boys would come down. And they give them their gum at the box. She sat behind the box. Well, that was their big thrill. Come to see Dad, they got their gum. Half stick of gum.
All right. Now I want to ask a question. Like, were you both born in Rossland? Okay. Now I want to go back a little ways and find out how you got to Rossland with your how your folks ended up here, or how you ended up here.
Well, my father moved to Ross in 1929.
In 29. Okay.
Okay. Then he started, his first job was at a C&S company called then. His first job was blasting stumps at the Warfield Flats so they put in the fertilizer plants.
Oh, okay.
And then we lived in Rossland, in the house I was born over on 4th Avenue, 1842 4th Avenue. I was born in that house. and that's where we lived. That was a family home.
And you were born there because your brother
My-
had whooping cough.
Yeah, my brother had whooping cough. Mom couldn't go in the hospital.
Oh,
So I
okay.
was born at home. And here's a real one.
Quarantine.
Yeah, and here's another one for you, Rolly. And the house right next to me, my close friend Robert DeCouche was born December the same year in there, that house, next door. And we're still friends. We just got a card from him.
Right.
Yeah.
That's great.
You know, people just can't believe that how close you make with friends. But going back to this lacrosse, it was such a game that you wouldn't believe. Like one year I played with Marcus Smith and Joe LaFace. Marcus and Joe's age was going up, and I played with them. But that Marcus Smith was one of the best lacrosse players you ever saw in Western Canada. Oh, he was good.
Mm-hmm.
And he coached one year, now the year I played with him and Joe. And that was just perfect, because Joe could throw that ball, and all I did, I was just a decoy. If I kept moving, that was it.
So it'd be nice to have some. I'm not sure how we were represented with it at the museum now, but those years that you won the provincial championships, that's
Oh, it was.
it's got to be recognized for sure.
Oh yeah, well this is it. So we're the only team I ever know of that ever took that title 3 years in a row.
Mm-hmm.
It's all in their lacrosse Hall of Fame at the coast, but I've never gone down to see it.
Yeah. Well,
A lot of stuff there.
okay, we're gonna just stop for a minute.
One thing you
What's
didn't
that?
get was the medal the city gave every lacrosse player.
Here you go. So how did it affect you, Beryl, when these guys were playing lacrosse all the time?
Number one, we were all excited and proud of our men playing lacrosse and to make the lacrosse team. You know, and you see the names of brothers, you think, oh, nepotism.
Mm-hmm.
But you had to make the team. And with them, they were busy with the lacrosse every night of the week. I wasn't fortunate enough like others in that Ken worked for the Department of Highways. He came home for supper later. Supper had to be ready so he could go to lacrosse practice or go to a game. When they played out of town, they went in somebody's car. We paid for everything. The only thing the lacrosse club gave the players was the shorts they were wearing and the sweater
In that stick.
and the
Oh, and
stick.
the sticks. Okay.
Anything else, shoulder pads, gloves, kidney pads. Do you know how they made their kidney pads? They got special thick felt from Wise's Hardware, bored some holes in it, got a shoelace and tied it. So they had this thick felt padding around their kidneys and their
Protect the
stomachs
kidneys, yeah.
so that they wouldn't be so badly injured and bruised when they were cross-checked by the opposition. Every one of these men had to get up and go to work the next day, no matter if they played down in the trail rink when it got about 110 degrees in the heat in the middle of the summer. They would be exhausted. No one complained when they had to have their beer after the game because they were just exhausted.
Yeah.
They did not know in those days about keeping people hydrated. But these hardy people, these sportsmen, they managed it all. When they needed new running shoes, people didn't realize that was your grocery money buying more running shoes. When you were injured, we had a team doctor. Sometimes he even stitched them while they sat in the box. One year between hockey and lacrosse, they weren't big cuts, Ken had 18 stitches.
Put them back together. All right.
Yeah.
Right on the bench.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it says a lot about the toughness of these athletes at the time. Wow. You
And
think the athletes are softer now?
Well,
What-
today you turn and look at the equipment, these
yes, big
people have
change.
on. The people are getting hurt because this equipment is so hard.
Too much.
You hit with a shoulder or you hit with an elbow, and what do you got? A broken jaw.
Yeah, exactly.
And
I
there's
think,
or a concussion.
I think, Ken, a lot of people agree with you on that.
And
these players never wore a helmet.
never wore a helmet, never wore a mouth guard. I got lots of bumps around yet still. that was said to me with all the stuff I played, and our team doctor, he turned around and he said, "You know, Ken, when you get to be 40, you're going to suffer for all what you're doing." But I fooled him. It was in my 70s before it got to me.
Just good genetics.
Yeah, well, he was a great person, this doctor we had. Was stitched up one time in a playoff game, and it was a crucial game, and I guess I was playing with maybe Pete and Boucher and my brother Don that time, and he turned around, he just stitched me up in the room, and he says to me, he says, "Here, Ken," he said, "how much longer we got to go?" I said, "We got about the fourth period to go. The game then was 4 periods." "It's okay." She said, "Here, take that. Where's that pill? It'll take the pain away from you." Well, it took more than the pain away from me, I tell you. Whew, go. And I went, there was a game, but after the game, I'm sitting, I had a beer, and Buddy DeParrin, the goalie, who was an excellent goalie, says to Buddy, "Bud, you and Ken are close friends." He says, "Will you please take him home?" And he says, "And make sure he goes in the house." And I couldn't believe it. I was like, "David, holy God."
They had another secret weapon between games, at periods, excuse me, and in the playoff. You know, they're used to playing Trail and Nelson, and they'd be up at least 5 goals by the start of the fourth quarter. But playoffs were touch and go. And as they're going out the door, the team doctor, Dr. Unra, and between
Frenchie Bouquet.
Frenchie Bouquet was a trainer at that time, they gave him a sugar cube with rum in it to put in their
A
mouth.
teaspoon of rum, good rum, and sugar cube.
They put that.
It got you going for the last 15
Oh yeah. That's great. Whatever works. Yeah.
But this is what he did. This is what he did during a crucial playoff game.
So you had the same trainer and coach through this whole period, or sorry, trainer doctor through this whole.
Well,
period?
Dr. Under came in with us from 54 till 56, and Frenchie was at the same time Bouquet.
All right.
He also at that time owned the Oral Hotel.
Yeah, that's right. Well, how long did he own the hotel? Till?
Oh, he owned it for I don't know how many years. Frenchie's wife's name was May, wasn't it?
Not through to the 70s.
No. And
No,
then
yeah.
they had a son Lenny, and they had a girl. Lenny, I think, lives in Cranbrook.
Okay.
Yeah. But he was just so great. And that Frenchie Bouquet, he turned around and he actually was a physiotherapist.
Mm-hmm.
And he sure kept you going, I tell you. Ooh. He would just work on you, and you just like that, and go out there and go again. I've seen him where some people, their knees get so bad from twisting and turning that they get Novocaine shot in them to keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to keep going.
You never told me that.
I never had it. But I seen him get it, that and in the shoulders,
All right.
Novocaine.
So when did you start skiing then?
I
You must have didn't have much time, or you were playing hockey and doing.
I
lacrosse.
skied when I was a little wee
When
kid.
you were a little young, and do you remember your first memories of skiing?
Yeah, we used to ski in the BAC grounds. That's when if you know where Ivan Bell lives today, behind the arena off of
Okay,
3rd Avenue,
yeah,
on that
okay.
hill. Well, on the top of that hill, I was telling Maureen the other day, there used to be the BAC offices up there for British American Corporation. That was theirs. And then they owned the land down on the flat, which was the old highway yard. Well, it used to be all these slopes, and there was a slope came down like that, and then you went from maybe 8 feet drop or 10 feet like that down to another flat. Well, we made you jump on top of that. We jumped right off that and landed right on the flat. And when the skis were just maple skis, no edges, suicide harness, and nobody ever broke a bone.
Did you start at the top of Monte Cristo? Did you?
Oh, that
down
was
there?
bobsledding.
Oh, we used to
Wanna
go up
know
on Monte
about
Cristo
those guys.
up to where you broke off to where the icy tunnel trail, down to the old Rossland cabin.
Okay.
We used to take our bobsled right up to there and come right down, and go right down where they run the bobsled rest now, but we went right down and right across the main street, then down, and we swung on to Leroy, then on to Davis Street, then we shut down on to Cook, and ended up at Teddy Seckham's way out south, and I think Stephen Boucher lives there now. We used to go all the way up there on bobsled one run. Only had about 2 a night, and that was the end of it.
Wow.
Tell them about taking the bobsled to trail and how you got back.
Okay.
Yeah, I forget who was all with us, but we had this bobsleigh. So we said, let's go down to try to go to trail. So off we went. Whew, and we got right down to the bottom. and we turned around and we pulled bobsleigh up to where just below where Webster School is now. Where the railroad overhead is. Well, the road used to cross the tracks.
Oh, okay.
Well, they used to have to shovel the tracks at all the time, the big snowbanks. And the bus regulation was then you had to stop at every railroad crossing and open the passenger's door. So we'd turn around, he'd stop, open the door, we'd be hiding behind the snowbank. When he closed the door, we ran and hooked the bob on behind on the bumper of the bus. And then bus used to, tier stages had a rack like that, and they put the mail used to sit up on the top of the bus in the bags.
Had a ladder up it.
Ladder up it. So we'd climb up in there and get up into there, and then we would come up, and then at Warfield we'd be quiet. He couldn't see you there, and you have to stop at Warfield at the railroad crossing, just by the stores are now. There's a crossing there, and we stayed there, and we came all the way to Rossland. And then we get off at the railroad crossing down here, where you pulled into town. Down the bow here, we stopped. Well, we take the bus off and just pull that little
So
bit.
you were kind of like the first shuttle.
First free shuttle.
First free
But
shuttle.
if you can imagine, you would never have been inside a bus when this is a regulation. The driver always did it. But surely to goodness, passengers at the back have got to have heard these
What
kids
was going
scrambling
on?
up the ladder and lying on the top of the
And
bus.
they're probably making enough noise so the driver can't hear it all.
There's one story of this person has now passed away. They tried to do it, but there was a provincial police were in town in Rossland at
Police.
the time. So he turned around, they started down there, and he saw them take off. Well, he chased after them with the car. When he got down there by the Milk Creek country, and he caught them. He
on the
stopped-
bobsled.
On the bob. He passed them, got in front of them, stopped them. And he turned around and he just made them through the bobsleigh, over the bank, and now walk home.
Not so good. Now the trains are still coming up and down the hill then.
Yes, the old steam.
Now, was anybody using the train to get back up?
No.
No, that was totally
There was...
No, Sid Simcock did.
okay. Because I heard rumors that people were hitching rides with the trains too.
Oh, yeah. Well, Sid Simcock and them used to go down to hockey games, and they'd come back up by train. They'd run a special train back up the hill.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did you not know that the ladies that lived in Lower Rossland, when the train was down where the water tower was, they would get on the passenger train and get a free ride up to downtown Rossland?
So wow,
Yeah.
it was easier back then. Okay.
There was a few of them told me that
Okay. Yeah.
they got up because trains can't turn around sharp corners.
That's right. They were doing the.
Yeah.
And
Switchbacks.
they're virtually going a couple of miles an hour, slowing down. So a lot of them had gone up. I don't know if any of them ever got to ride down with their bags of groceries.
Yeah.
Beryl, you weren't born in Rossland.
No, I was born in Trail.
Yeah.
Ah. Okay.
Did you not know that all the Rossland boys married Trail girls,
Well,
Trail
it's getting-
boys married
it's starting to
Rossland
sound like
girls?
that sometimes,
Yeah.
but that's okay.
No, we, like one of our close friends, like Beryl's close friend was Lois Jean. And she married Jim Leckie from Rossland. And I married Beryl from Trail. I'd go down, take Jim down with my old car, and I'd let Jim off in Green Avenue, and I'd go down over to Columbia Avenue and get Beryl.
Now, when you were in, so you did all your schooling in Rossland.
I was in Rossland.
Yeah.
Right
Did,
there.
which schools? You went to.
I went to the old McLean School here,
Right.
and old Cook Avenue School down here.
Okay.
And we used to walk from Cook Avenue home for lunch. No matter of that much snow, you walked back and forth.
Yeah. Yeah. And with all the sports you were you doing sports with school? Like with,
Oh yeah, I have pictures there of Ed Walter's rink, and they had a rink down at the far end of Kootenai, way at the far end there,
An outdoor rink.
an outdoor rink. There's pictures there, and there's a picture like you can take a look at it, and you'd be amazed. And Louis Corrado's in that picture. You were
Okay.
talking about Louis.
Yeah,
He's in
yeah.
that picture.
Yeah. And you were saying back in those days when the lacrosse was starting in 47.
Well, it was 46, like you
46.
said.
That was the last year of the Great Grind, and you mentioned that you were up on the hill.
Yeah, well, like I was saying, my brother was in that. They would go up on Saturday nights and stay overnight so they didn't wear their legs out hiking in on Sunday morning. Well, Don Swift and I would get up early Sunday morning and we'd hike up and get to the cabin, and then we'd load all these 2 big pack sacks up with stuff that they wanted us to bring back down for them. But we'd hike right up to Old Eternity Rock on Gray and ski from there all the way out home, and then still be on over here by Essling Park Lodge to watch the racers come home.
I asked when I was young and first married how these things went. How did you do this? Like, Ken was about 12 when he did that. Like, didn't your mother know what you were doing?
Exactly. When you look at the times and the gray grind and what they are actually doing, people are still amazed at the times.
I remember Ken's mother saying, yes, every time Dawn did something like that, I lost another pot and pan. and this is what these youngsters who are too young to take part in the race, keyed up to know everything about it, wanting to help. And what they did is, what would you say, they were preset the course. And I said, well, like, what's the course like? I'm, groomed hill skier. I know it wasn't groomed like that. He said, fallen trees all over.
Just like this.
Yeah.
Like that. And anyone that was not taking part in the race had to leave by a certain time, and they traveled the trail that the skiers would do, and I don't know what the other officials did to preset the course.
Right. But Rossland's always had a history of extreme sports people, right? Back from the days of the snowshoers from Quebec and Olaus Jelsnes and all those people. Is it because there were so many mentors around, so many role models? There must be guys around that you looked at him when you were a kid and went, look at that guy.
Oh,
Trig Nora.
Trig Nora.
Yeah, okay.
He did dryland training for our lacrosse.
Yeah.
We would start training in April in the old mine mill hall and doing calisthenics and stuff to start stretching so you didn't pull muscles. And that's how we were always in shape.
Now, he was an incredible skier, and he was a jumper too.
He would jump on the old Rossland Hill with one of his kids on his back.
Yeah, and it might have been Helen.
Just like that. You wouldn't believe him.
Yeah.
And I've seen him come off that big jump on the Rossland Hill on one ski.
Yeah, I heard that too. Right?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
So quite a character. Those were inspirations for all you young guys around too.
Morton
Right?
Hans Johnson.
And Morton Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And yeah,
And-
he was a marvelous jumper.
Mm-hmm.
Buddy Scorgies from Trail was a real good jumper.
Yeah, and
But
back
Buddy was raised in Rossland. He was.
right. And those guys, what a tradition. Whether it be Norwegian and so forth. But the first people that was in the '40s when the Red Chair opened. That the first bursaries were going out to the universities, and people like Al Fisher, and were getting the first bursaries to go to the different colleges and be athletes.
Well,
That must have been
they had the big hill. They made a new hill up there on Monte Cristo here, and they had all these jumpers that come in. They had a big hill, and you wouldn't believe how far. They're more like this. They call it ski sailing now.
Yeah.
Then they were like that. There was all kinds of Europeans came in here because they had scholarships in the States from all the colleges. They had the big intercollegiate college. It was always in Rossland because we had the first ski tour.
That's right.
So and they had the jump there. Well, you wouldn't believe the people that would go out there to watch that jumping from Rossland. It was amazing.
And all the athletes had to do all the disciplines. In the record books, in the book, The Ski Race, it's people like Bill Stevens, Al Fisher, all those guys, Harry Mann.
Yeah.
Those guys. They had to do not just ski jump. They had to do the cross country. They had to do the ski gates and so forth. You couldn't just pick and choose. You had to do all the disciplines.
No.
So those guys must have been, and the gals must have been good athletes.
Well, even when I was going to old Cook Avenue school down here, above the school we used to call Ozeross Field. All right. Well, that used to be only one house up there. Everyone was the big field. Well, we had a jump hill in there. And we went down to have PE. You packed your skis to school and you walked out in the street. You put your skis on. You went up there and that was your physical education class, was ski.
Yeah.
And that's how everybody got to ski
right.
so much.
And it was everybody.
That's everybody did it. It was part of your physical education class.
Yeah.
It wasn't all basketball. You got skiing up here.
Yeah. Did you remember a guy named Ron Shearer?
Oh, we went to school with him.
Okay, well, so Ron's become a good friend of mine and all ours. And that's right.
That's
Great. So his father was working at doing the lights or something, or
well, his dad put the lights on the old Rossland Hill.
That's right. Yeah.
Didn't they have an area over here that they had their first
Yeah,
Wednesday afternoon ski?
Oh yeah.
So you were at the class reunion a few years ago when Ron brought all the essays.
This year.
I got I got his first book in there. That's his second book, and I got his third book.
Yeah, I got some autographed copies myself.
Yeah.
So
Well,
you went to
I
school
know
with Ron.
Ron.
That's great. He's been a real asset for collecting the history of our area here. Yeah.
He's amazing. But if you want to go back to the old Grey Mountain grind, you didn't ski like you thought. You came down from the off the old Tower 5 trail onto the road, then you went down and you got to the bottom of that hill. You in on the right of the big reservoir. There was a trail through there. You went through the trap chute country and went along there. You went up. Then you came out on a chute coming down out here by where the tunnel is now. And it shot right down like that. And then you go down to that road. You skied that road a little bit there. Then they skied right down Spokane Street. It wasn't where you did.
Tell how they started and how it was timed.
It was timed. The reason it was how it was timed is somebody had an old-fashioned battery radio and they packed it to the top of Grey Mountain. Then when CGAST station, they were in touch with them, and then they would say it is now 1 o'clock. So the guy was there, stopwatch, one off at 1, one off at 1:01, and every minute they let somebody go. And that's how it was timed.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it
Makes
wasn't
sense. Yeah.
what they have today,
Yeah.
and that's how it worked.
Okay. Now during those periods, that's when we had the weather station up there on Old Glory, and we had Wilf Gibbert doing all summer taking the coal up for the Medio boys. Or do you remember meeting some of those guys when they were coming into town?
I worked
Good
with one for
friends.
over 30 years.
Yeah, okay.
Bart Dudley.
Okay.
He's the one that set up the station on top of Old Glory.
Yeah.
And it was set up just at the start of the Second World War.
Yeah.
And he set that up. There was a Met station and then there was a forestry station.
Yeah.
And he was the
The
one that set
lookout
the
up top.
station up there. And how they worked it, they would, to go in the wintertime, they would hike from Rossland and stop at the
The
Yodel Inn
Yes,
and
that's
stay
right.
overnight at the Yodel Inn.
Yep.
And then they'd go up through that cut right
Yeah.
off of there, and that's how they hiked up to the top.
And there was the other cabin that I remember using back in the 70s, early 80s, and it's gone. And it was on Plumen Ridge.
Uh-huh.
And they could stop in there too. But
Yeah.
I remember they stopped in at the Yodel Inn. And that because sometimes it was a 2-day trip.
That's right.
Yeah.
They were so long in, and then they'd come out.
Yeah.
And then there was Wayne Severson was up there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Al Latch.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Have you seen you saw that old video that
Yeah.
from the National Film Board
Yeah.
on the lookout? That's pretty nice. With the talking to Richie Mann, we were looking at some weather historical weather stuff, and it was one day, and I think it was '68 when he was working. It was, I forget what year it burned down, but it was the coldest day that Richie Mann remembers in Rossland. He was working on Red, and that was the day the weather station burned down.
Yeah.
It made sense, but it was the first time we kind of related those 2 days together. He must have been putting a lot of coal in there, and that was quite a rescue up there that day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
They got him. He lost all. You know the story. Yeah. So
One of them got frostbite.
well, he's lucky to
Yeah.
imagine the coldest day
Yeah.
in years, and you're up there in your underwear. It must have been something else. Yeah. And you're all tucked in. Now, did you start skiing at the hill? It was when the lift was built in 49?
No, 40,
Oh, sorry, I should have
48.
that. 48.
48 it was.
Was that a big thing for Rossland?
Yes, it was a big thing. But you wouldn't, the first lift was all made out of, the towers were all made out of wood.
I got to see him.
Yeah, and it was all, parts for the lift actually came out of an old mine.
Yeah.
All the big shifts came out of the mines.
Bob Green.
Bob Green, and there was one of the old engineers at Kameko.
Yeah, that's right.
Styles.
Yeah,
he really
Al
was into
Styles.
it.
Yeah, he's a big part of it.
Saul Rothman.
Yeah.
They all had their fingers in there.
Yeah, it's an amazing story what they accomplished there, right?
Yeah, well, they turned around. There's a story too that Kameko had one of the biggest cats at the time. It was a cat D7, and a Rossland man ran it by the name of Les Cleverly. Well, they hauled that up here, and that's how they cleaned a lot of the hill off. Was Les Cleverly and that cat?
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's how it got going, just
Yeah.
because. And then there was volunteer labor up there, like probably you were around at the time when you could go up there and work.
Yeah, work your passes off.
You got your club membership free, but you had to pay for the pass for the hill.
Yeah,
That was it.
exactly. When it was a club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we used to go up there with chainsaws and
Yeah,
do that.
I did that myself in the 70s for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Now you guys were pretty active skiers there. What years were those when you were most active?
From 88 till '07.
Okay, right on.
That was a really
You
active.
noticed some big changes
Well,
around here.
We did an awful lot of night skiing together up there, Beryl and I.
Mhm.
We would always make sure night skiing. That's one way we could get the boys to do their homework.
Mm-hmm.
We'd say, if you do your homework, we'll go night skiing. Well,
Wednesday and
Yeah, wasn't that great? We missed the night skiing.
down the old back trail.
Yeah, it was
that was
fabulous.
gorgeous skiing through
Yeah,
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was something we all miss a lot. Is the night skiing on Red. For sure.
We used to rent it with the highways crew because we used to do favors for them up there, like plowing and sanding and parking lots and all that. And it was Fred Bozier.
Yeah, Fred, wasn't your
And he really appreciated it, so we asked him if we could rent the ski hill for a night. Sure, you guys can rent it. So you can rent it on Friday night. So we could invite our friends.
for $5.
For $5, you come skiing with us.
Yeah, I tend to
There's
remember
still
that.
someone in town that always ken the $5.
That's when I was working there as a ski patroller myself.
Yeah, and turn around and we'd ski our route, and we going up there, and after we all got together, we had a real big turnout. The only problem the ski hill had with us, they didn't have enough beer for the weekend.
They still run into that problem once in a while.
Yeah, we just we just had a ball do these things.
Now, over these years, with the snow and the weather, you notice any changes?
Its weather's not as cold, and we don't get the snow. Going to get that nice snow. I've been up on that back night skiing there, go night skiing, and they'd been all groomed up ready for night skiing, and you get about 2 inches of nice fresh snow on it. Well,
Yeah.
you only get that very seldom in your lifetime.
Did you notice any other weather changes around here? Some people say it's windier here now.
True.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's truer. And
Is it because of what we still call the High Arrow Dam?
Yes,
There are more
yeah.
bodies of water closer
Yeah.
to us,
Yeah.
creating some atmospheric
Or,
change.
do we help create the effect? And other people are saying that we get the same amount of rain during the month, but we get it in an hour instead
Yeah.
of 4 days, and that's why our roads wash out and stuff.
Well,
Well-
everything goes in cycles
Cycles,
because I was brought up in trail, and it was very hot. You only remember the really, really hot times. Like we thought it never rained ever in the summer. We've had summers when the only 3 weeks it didn't rain is when we learned to take our holidays. The last 2 weeks of July and the first week of August. And that was it. When you're allowed 3 weeks holiday, you're the top guy. You put in for your 3 weeks when you know that Christina Lake's going to be like a mirror and you can water ski all you want and things like that. But yes, it's basically has become hotter that as it was in the 40s. Now everything goes in cycles, and it's not all just I've been a bad girl using spray cans to make it change. It's we're hitting another cycle when it's as hot as it was in the 40s.
Now, when you guys were raising your kids, summers were when you weren't working. You went your holidays to Christina Lake, and
we built a cabin at the north end of Christina Lake, and we started it in 1963. We finished putting the cabin up in '64, and we sold the cabin in 2007. 6 miles in by boat.
oh, okay.
Oh yes, yeah. We're the first one up in that bay where we.
Was that okay? I remember years ago going to old Booty's cabin.
Ken's
Right next
dad
door.
built that.
Okay, I went in
next
there in the
door.
'70s and helped put a reno on it.
Yeah, we were next to that little blue next door. That was ours.
Okay, I thought that was.
Yeah, that's us. Yeah,
We were in there,
the reason Booty built there is because we were there.
Yeah, no, Booty was a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, he adopted me too when I first came here, dragged me around a lot.
No, it was just.
But that was a beautiful place in the lake where you guys
Oh,
were.
God,
there.
it was beautiful up there.
Yeah, very nice.
We used to teach at least 12 people to ski every year.
Water ski. Yeah.
And they don't think, it's your boat gas, you're hauling it all in by your tanks and
Yeah.
and things like that. But Ken, being brought up in Rossland, would not live below Columbia Avenue. So we were 12 years in one house up just past the arena on 4th Avenue, 14 years right on Columbia Avenue,
Right on the.
and now it's 35 years
Right
here,
here.
where Ken thinks is the best part of
Yeah,
town.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
You're in the middle of
and the same, you brought up in Rossland, the only place to holiday is Christina Lake.
Yeah.
We used to have wonderful fishing in Christina Lake. And the joys of a little boy to catch his first bass fish because they fight, you know,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you've got a little 3-year-old with his pole. That's fun to
Great
watch.
place to spend your life.
Yeah,
around here.
to watch
Yeah.
a little one.
Now the changes in Rossland, you're seeing like the main street. You guys, what do you think of all that?
well, today when I was downtown, I was disgusted with it because you couldn't find a place to park.
Oh, it's getting busier, is it?
Oh.
I
What
know.
disgusts us is the people do not obey the ordinary rules of the road.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
J turns.
Yes.
And then
Happened
it's,
to Ken today, and the jaywalking.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Stuff that these people wouldn't do in any other town.
That's right.
Yeah,
And we're looking at our friends doing it. You don't do that.
I know.
But they think, well, the newcomers do it. Why can't I?
Yeah.
As soon as someone comes new to Rossland, they say they've come because they like the ambiance. They like the friendliness. They like how everybody is. And as soon as they come, they want to change it to where
Yeah.
it was, how it was
Has it
where they
changed a
came
lot, you think?
No, people
No?
still smile. And
Yes.
You say hello to somebody, and 2 people past them are still smiling at you and saying hello because you've said hello to
And
somebody.
that's what makes it a great town.
They
It just
pick
as
up
it
on
happened
that.
this morning. I was cleaning this driveway, and a lady came along to me. She says, "Good morning." So, hi there.
Like an
Good
old
old
friend.
madam.
Yeah.
I was just cleaned up.
But tell why you couldn't get the parking space.
Oh, I went downtown this morning to get the mail, and I thought, well, there's the parking spot vacant by the post office. I came from the other way, and so I turn around. I go in there, and somebody makes a J turn
Oh yeah.
and park
Rossland J turns.
in the
famous.
handicap- in the handicap zone.
Cross a double white line.
right
Yeah.
in, and park right in the handicap
Yeah,
zone.
they don't know what
And
those
there's
double lines are.
You have 2 young fellows from Alberta. I said, "Oh, you think so?" So I just pulled up behind him and put the car there. Well, he looked at me, and I pointed at the side. I went like that, and I pointed at him, "Get out of there."
That's what you have to do. You know, when people are doing
well,
those big turns
because
that by the
we
post
have
office.
the
Yeah.
handicap parking sign for our car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've gone into Ferro's and I've said, okay, who has the red Corvair convertible sitting in the handicap parking
Good for
spot? Where do I
Hopefully
park?
it wasn't the manager.
I don't care if it was. And especially if
Yeah.
it's pouring
Well,
rain.
there's more people shopping here, and
It is amazing.
yeah.
It is amazing. Like there's a story. I had Don Swift, who got a big recognition from the Ontario Ski Federation for the ski school he ran and the people he taught to ski. He left Rossland in '52.
To take draft.
Take drafting from the federal government, and he ended up working for Ontario Hydro and Ottawa Hydro. He got the latter pretty good for Ottawa. So he turned around and he came in here and he brought some people in from down there where he taught skiing in Ottawa to Renfrew and Ottawa. He lives at Calaboogie Lake at the ski hill, and he brought him in here to go skiing. He came in on there, so he stopped there, and we had his wife with us. We kept Joan here with us, and he went skiing. Well, we were invited up last night. They rented a condo up the ski hill. We went up to see them, and 2 of them came to me and said, "I don't believe this town." I said, "Well, what's wrong?" He said, "That store you have in Rossland, that Ferrero's food store. That store has more variety and better quality in any food, and it's bigger than any food store in Renfrew." He says, "I don't know how it goes, but it is
No, we are
gorgeous.
blessed, yeah.
It is great to have it."
Yeah, that's great. You guys feel that way about the way things on the main street have changed, but we're lucky to have that kind of stuff.
Now,
Do you have any more questions? Yeah.
Well, here's a story. Shall tell the story about Air Canada?
Just
Yes,
this
tell
year.
that
Yeah.
story.
I'll
That's
turn
a
around.
great story.
And last spring, I was cleaning up snow, and it wasn't too much, and I was using the big scoop and my pusher. Didn't use my blower. And I was cleaning up there, and a young gentleman walks along, and he looks at me. Okay. And I kept going. He says, just a minute, can I take your picture? She says, sure, help yourself. He says, I just laughed. I was happy out there. And he took my picture. And then he came and asked me my name and my age and all this kind of stuff. And I says, now, what's this for? Oh, he says, I do work for Air Canada, for their en route magazine that's on board the planes. I said, okay.
I read that one. Yeah.
Nothing will happen. So I turned around, and last Wednesday, a week ago, I was out putting some decorations in front of the house for the little kids and stuff, and I was just working out there, and just had the same clothes on, a red plaid jacket, and an old toque Beryl Ned knit me, and my same old clothes, and I'm out there, and I'm working off the leg, and the guy looks at me, and he has his little boy with him, looks at his son, looks at me, comes over and says, you're Ken, aren't you? I says, yeah, I'm Ken. He says, well, I just saw you. He says, your picture's in the en route magazine on the airplane. I just came in from
All over
Halifax.
the world, yeah.
Didn't you see? Yeah, so it's such a small world.
Yeah, that's
And
great.
I just had that old red black jacket on.
Yeah. What a group of people that live in this town. You don't know what people are doing, what
Yeah.
work they're in, and
And
brings a certain type.
and the travel agent at Trail, Kim Drake, I saw her, and she was going to the Castle Airport and never heard back. But I phoned the managers, got in touch with me back, and they're going to ship me the magazine. But Kim phoned Beryl yesterday, and she's looked it up online. And she says, the 100-page books, you got to go through it till you find it. She says, it's a real good picture, and there's a real good picture of Red Mountain right in the background. See?
Yeah.
So there's something. Yeah.
That is great. Now, any advice to people moving here? Is it a good place to come to?
Wonderful place to raise children,
Yeah.
to make friends. Well, if you've got children in school, it's easy to make friends because your children are the door openers for you.
That's right.
When you're a little bit older, you don't get around so much. It's harder to make new friends. But the thing is always to keep a smile on your face and just accept life as it is. Don't complain too much. We're all human, we make mistakes, and just enjoy every day.
No, that's great.
Because lately people have had so much tragedy that we just
And we hear about it with all the
Yeah.
news the way it is now. Yeah.
just enjoy every day and do the best you can to help your neighbors or people that you see, and be a little more cognizant of other people's needs. I find that people new in town are all about themselves or just their friends. They don't react like
Well, maybe Rossland will have an effect on them, and they'll
Oh, maybe.
be less selfish.
Well, this is what I say, Rolly. I can remember the days when the train coming up and hauling the coal up the hill, and I can remember them dumping the ore on the old ore dump chute over here where Jeff's auto body is, and all these things, and all the wood piled in the yard during the Second World War to be shipped out here, all this lumber. It was all white pine. And a lot of it was just going over to Nelson to be finished lumber or made into matches at Eddie Match Company in Nelson. And all this all went on, and I just see all these things going on, and seeing the leasing. I could remember people leasing in the mines, stories of people that worked in the leases, and people that did work in the mines, and there's all these stories out there. But this is the thing is to get some people to tell you more stories of what went on and what the old days were like here, because nobody had any money. You made your own fun.
Yeah.
You made your own fun. So can you tell us what a yuyong is?
A yuyon. Do you know what a yuyon is? Well, a yuyon is you get somebody that has a pair of skis and they have one broken one, and you throw it away and you got one ski. So you go get a piece of 2x6 and you take it and you drill up through the groove on the bottom of the old ski into the 2x6. Then you put a piece of 2x6 seat on it and you sit on that and put your feet in front of you and you go down the hill, and that's a yuyon.
A yuyon. Okay, well, hopefully we'll see some of them in the shops. Somebody will start building them.
There has been a contraption similar to that when someone was showing off
Yeah,
on one
there's
of the
yeah.
sports show, and Ken goes, "There's our idea. There's
yeah.
there's
The
the
yuyon.
yuyon." I wanted to say that there have been industries that we have lost from Rossland through no one's fault at all. When it was the Department of Highways, before it became the Ministry of Highways, of course it has become modernized. But at the height of their employees is when they had summer people hired to fill in for the people having their summer holidays. 100 jobs in
Yeah.
Rossland.
In
From
summer.
the courthouse and the garage and the road crew workers
100.
and the relief, 100 jobs. Most people have lived in Rossland and not known how many used to be hired at the sawmill. At one time, Jack Bryden and Donnie had 29 full-time workers,
They
two
worked
shifts.
2 shifts down there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 shifts.
And you see, people managed with less money. It wasn't important to be that rich. And so therefore we had ladies wear stores, general stores, men wear stores, and we bought from our neighbors who lived in, and worked with us. We joined organizations that helped the whole communities. Younger people don't like joining organizations for life and things like that. That store owners and stuff belonged to the fraternal organizations. It was to their benefit because these were their customers, and if you were a member of their organization, of course they would choose your store to shop in. And it was a very nice homey atmosphere. You will find that the people that used to clerk in the stores were outgoing, and they talked and they were interested in you. And we've been told that people who come to Rossland to clerk in Ferrero's, because maybe they're going to be shorthanded, they're just "Mwah." But now, yes, I'm going to go up to Rossland to work. But we've been told for getting young people to work, at one time, say you had a pool of 10 that you were training to fill shelves and whatever like that. Out of the 10, there might be one that would be a dud, wouldn't be a good worker, wouldn't take up their own initiative. Now, out of 10, there's only one
A good worker.
that's a good
Yeah.
worker.
That's the way it is now.
And that's what Ken
You just-
found at the end of his working life. You didn't get the younger people, the mechanics, that would see a job that needed to be done. If you told them to do one thing, they did it, and then they twiddled their thumbs till you told them
Now,
to do
was that
another job.
because people, when you were brought up, people lived in the farms and brought up, and they had to do chores, and then the young people now, it's not. I find it's not because they're lazy, but they've never had to work, so they don't know. I've had to hire young people, and I used to when I was younger. When I would hire these people, I thought at first maybe they were lazy, but then I realized no, they never had to do work when they were kids, so I had to point them. Once they were doing something, they were fine. So different generations, yeah.
Well, this is true, very true. It's just there's so many of them out there that just are under
More
so much
people in the cities.
supervision.
Yeah, so much
They
supervision.
cannot think for
They get
themselves.
driven to school.
They don't
yeah.
think for themselves
No,
anymore.
it's tough.
I'll give you an example. You see, we've had a lot of work done on our house, and you learn to trust the workman that's going to do something. And it was a Rosslander, Pat from Patterson, that owned Glenmary Glass, and I wanted the huge windows we had in the front smaller. The windows had come less than a foot from the floor, and I love stained glass. And finally, when Don Glover could get someone that would do triple panes like those are, and we contracted because it's so much heat loss from the glass in the wintertime and heat coming in the summertime, that I wanted the front of the house to look the same with the windows along the same level as the dining room. And when he was working here with us, you chat with someone you know, he was trying to hire people to help him at a shop at Glenmary Glass, and he just was shaking his head. At that time, minimum wage was $10. And he had this young lad come and say, well, he wasn't going to sweep the sawdust off the shop floor for just $10 an hour.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And you see, they just don't value money, and they don't value work because they've never had to do it.
Well, they're gonna.
And they've never volunteered to do anything for nothing.
Yeah.
And
It's hard finding volunteers, and hopefully some of these young people find their way through it and realize how much you can get from giving too. So
like people actually nowadays, I understand, have to have some volunteer hours to get their credits for high school. I belong to the hospital auxiliary. Well, they want to do volunteer hours at their convenience,
yeah, well, that's not how it
not
works.
when it's convenient for the people who
That
are
need
doing the
the-
work and at the hours that they need it. And like those
Privilege,
bags
maybe.
are those bags are heavy.
Yeah, privileged.
Whereas there's 70, 80-year-old women moving them around.
It's just the same role all the years I had at the highways over here, and the apprentices that came through. The highways had one of the best apprentice programs that you could ever imagine in the world, but it was all stopped. But one of the governments said, no, we're not going to have any more apprentices. It costs money. Now you short all your tradesmen. And some of the apprentices I put through, one of them ended up as being mechanical superintendent for all the North Country. Then he ended up being mechanical superintendent in Vancouver. Another one was so great in electricity, 12 volt, 20, anything you want, and electronic stuff, he wrote a book.
That's great.
see?
Yeah. Well, it's good to see that some of the local, like tech, is back into apprenticeships again.
Yeah, well,
and
this is, they have
more and
to.
more. So that
They
some of
have-
the stuff might be cyclic also.
Well,
right?
it's just the same thing. It's like I was trying to say is, if you went to Langford, you had to go there for 6 months. That was to teach you fabrication. If you went to Clovertail, that was going to the big rebuilding shop for the highways, and you had to learn how to rebuild these diesel engines and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
If you
Hands-on.
went to Vernon, you got into the electrical shop, and they teach how to rebuild starters and alternators and all the windshield wiper motors, all this stuff. And if you wanted hydraulics, you went over to Cranbrook.
Yeah.
You see, this is how they train people.
Yeah. Well,
And what did they do in Rossland?
hey, so I got one more question for you two. Is there any hope?
Always.
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 Yes.
Okay,
It's
well,
got-
Maureen and I want to thank you guys
Yes, yes,
for
thank you very
the
much.
time that you've given us. These stories have been great. Now, what we want you to do is talk to your friends and get them to get in touch with us so we can hear more stories. Hopefully, we get these stories onto the museum, the website, so people can hear them. I still want to get a picture of to you so I can put it on there too. And we'd like to have the permission from you both so we can use these for the museum. So people can listen to them. Do we have you? Would that be fine for
Yes.
you guys? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Beryl. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
And so we appreciate it very